Now at Burger King, Alf Puppets. Get your kids a funny Alf Puppet with its own record for just $2.99 when you buy a Flame Broil Whopper or any large sandwich at Burger King. 4 different puppet and record sets, each just $2.99 with a Whopper or large sandwich. Hurry in and give Alf a hand. You don't have to do it at Burger King. You're cooking with Alf.
You've got this all wrong. You want to make news of the cereal today, you need a gimmick. Putting a whole banana inside a little bran biscuit, stuff like that. These are just flakes. I don't think I've tasted anything like it. Simple, light, it's really very good. Well, how about that? A cereal that doesn't need a gimmick.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Corn Flakes?
Taste them again for the first time.
Introducing a high-performance luxury sports coupe made the Mazda way.
If you like the idea of going places in a hurry, check out Mazda's all-new MX-6 GT. A turbocharged, intercooled 12-valve road machine that'll outrun the top-of-the-line Honda Prelude and still run you a cool $2 grand less. Believe me, you don't have to drive it this hard to love it. You just have to drive it.
This is the Mazda way.
On the one hand, U.S. Sprint's long-distance digital fiber optic network is so quiet, you can actually hear a pin drop. On the other hand, it's so efficient, you'll get the best overall savings, which is pretty miraculous. Call U.S. Sprint and find out how you can get the best for less.
Next, on Wise Guy.
Now Mahoney sends in a guy to watch Patrice's guy.
That sounds like the makings of a war.
Don't you profit from the way I conduct business?
My blessing is your business.
The problem is, Vinny, we never had a guy in this deep before.
Now, I want him just as bad as you do, but I will not lie under oath.
Do you work for Sonny Steelgrave?
Yes.
You don't work for me, huh?
You got some surprise I don't know about?
This is Faith Daniels. Tomorrow we'll take a look at the worst television commercials of the year. Also, Lorenzo Lamas and Felicia Rashad on CBS This Morning.
Tomorrow night.
You're listening to the highest standard for telephone clarity, an AT&T phone. But what about cordless phones? The trouble is too many of them sound like this. That's why AT&T developed this new generation of cordless phones with clarity that rivals our corded phones. Now, when you can buy a cordless phone that sounds like this, or an AT&T cordless 52 or 5300 that sounds like this, the clear choice is the right choice.
If you think you've heard all there is about aspirin, think again. Today, there's an even better aspirin formula, Anacin. Clinical tests show that Anacin relieves headache pain better than regular strength aspirin.
Anacin, a better aspirin formula.
It's time for the baby's bottle. But for you, it's time to tempt your tummy with a taste of nuts and honey. It's a honey oven O. It's Honey Nut Cheerios.
48 hours will continue.
For 10 years, she was a prisoner of war.
There's a cage over there that I used to live in.
For 10 years, he was rebuilding his life. 10 years is a long time.
Are you in love with her?
Because time didn't stand still, and pain can't be forgotten. Terry Garr, Stacy Keach, Kathy Lee Crosby, torn by time, they're intimate strangers, Sunday.
This is CBS.
My choice, Ford Taurus. The first thing that struck me was the bold new design. But that's not the only reason Taurus is a winner. Take a look at the value. I got a 6-year, 60,000-mile warranty. Plus, my Ford dealer saved me $600 more with a special option package.
And for a limited time, get $600 cash back on Taurus. $600 cash back direct from Ford.
No wonder it's the car everybody wants. Talk about a quality product. Taurus, for my Greater Milwaukee Ford dealer.
No visible scars, tattoos, or birthmarks.
Next time on Cheers.
Seeking possible serious relationship.
Carla places a personal ad for love and gets lucky.
I was intrigued by your warm, honest ad.
Well, maybe her new Romeo is a little too perfect.
Come to Mama.
Could Sammy be giving Carla the old love shuffle?
Is this your handiwork?
Next time on Cheers.
Thursday, following TV6 News at 10.
Hordes of Harleys are heading to Milwaukee. Details after the game.
The new Hyundai Excel GS is a great car for a quiet afternoon drive. There's a standard stereo sound system for people who appreciate fine music. The special alloy wheels will elicit the praise of the most critical aficionado.
Nice wheels.
And with front-wheel drive and contoured sports seats, you can ride in comfort while enjoying the scenery. In fact, the Hyundai Excel is the perfect car to take for a quiet picnic on the beach. Hyundai, cars that make sense.
Who makes the best personal computers for business? When you rank different models, a startling pattern emerges. The most powerful PC in the world, the most powerful portable in the world, and the most powerful mid-range PCs in the world all have one thing in common. They come from the company whose annual sales reached $1 billion faster than any other in history. Compaq. It simply works better.
Within the black, there is a power. Dracon Wild, the men's fragrance by Guy Laroche, Paris. Feel the power.
Oh, look at this. Hey, look at the color.
All right, perfect. Chuck and Melissa Switzer and one of their 3 children. Eldon. A typical American family spending the afternoon at the zoo in St. Paul, Minnesota. You ready? Typical, except for one thing.
It would start out oftentimes with me throwing the kitchen furniture at her. The chairs, the table, anything on the table. I would hit her in the shoulder, in the stomach, kick her. I've been known to kick her in the ribs. I've been known to drag her around.
Well, the worst it got for me was early in our marriage. He had whipped me once with a webbed service belt, which left welts all over my body. That was the worst beating, but I guess the most scary thing, which made me really think something has got to be done to stop him, was he had a belt one time around my neck and choked me to the point I was very close to passing out. Chuck and Melissa have been married for 25 years. For 20 of those years, he beat her. She never knew what would set him off next.
Was there a time where the noise of the blow dryers might have provoked a smack in the mouth, that type of thing?
I don't recall the blow dryers, but I do recall him getting up in the morning. See, the rule was he didn't get out of bed till I had breakfast ready for him and on the table. And I had to know, thinking ahead of time what he wanted to eat. And sometimes he'd come out there and I didn't figure it out right, and he'd be upset that he didn't find on the table what he had his taste buds ready for. There he is looking. Is that all true? Yeah.
And the blow dryers did bother me.
Oh, they did bother you. I wasn't.
And any noise, even the noise of your computer bothers me now. But I deal with it differently.
See, I remember one occasion.
The fact that he was standing back there listening, I mean, that could potentially, under other circumstances, be ominous.
Oh, if he had heard me say something like that before, we have been to parties and things where I have said the wrong thing at a party and we get home and I get it for it.
My first remembrance of violence goes back to when I was 3. I saw my parents...
They go to meetings to talk about domestic violence, this one in Duluth, the day before our 48 Hours weekend began. She has written about the beatings and the fear. They talk because they think it might help others, but they also talk because it helps them.
When my dad was physically abusive with me, he was unmerciful. An example of this occurred when I was about 6 years old. He told me my punishment would be a beating with a board for 10 minutes. After 5 minutes of the beating, I began to lose control of my bowel. He stopped long enough to let me clean up, only began again the remaining 5 minutes.
When Chuck first abused me, and we were on our honeymoon, and I went into the bathroom, and I thought to myself, what am I going to do?
Hold on. The first time he hit you was?
On our honeymoon. We had left Minnesota and started for his next duty station, which was in Tennessee, and we were spending the night in a motel in Iowa, and we had had sexual intercourse, and I did not have an orgasm, so while he was still on top of me for the first time, he hit me.
My mother was irrational in her treatment of me. Once she tried to drown me in the milk cooling tank. Another occasion, she tried to run me down in the field with the tractor. She threw rocks and dirt clods at me. She told me how she wished I would die. She told me I was no good.
Oh, he could hit me, he could shove me. He shoved me into these sinks one time and broke. He shoved me so hard that the sink broke.
The sink?
Uh-huh. It was a single one. One of the positive things that came from it is I ended up getting a double sink to replace it and up higher where it was easier.
That's a pretty good definition of an optimist, I'll tell you.
When I was about 12 years old, I started hitting back.
Now, this is the question that you're going to hate and that women hate.
I don't hate the question.
Do you know what the question is?
Why did you stay?
Yeah.
Better to live with a house with abuse than out on the street or alone. And some of my fears was I'll be alone. And my parents died when I was 12 years of age. And the horror of being left alone and at the hands of an abusive sister was so horrendous to me that the thought of being alone, of leaving Chuck, was worse than the thought of being abused and him saying he was sorry. That gray one is beautiful.
Finally, Melissa went to the police, the first time in 20 years. They went into therapy, and today they're still married, still living together, and that is not typical. Most marriages would have ended long ago, or the violence secretly still would be going on. What's the moral of this story? After 25 years, you are still together.
The thing that I would like people to understand is that you can change. We aren't fixed products. We can change our environment, we can change our behavior, we can change how we interact with people. Okay, you ready, guys? Okay, gotcha.
Excellent, Elgin. Outstanding. The similarities are just terrific. The haircut and all.
100 years ago, a man could beat his wife as long as the implement was no thicker than his thumb. That's where the expression, the rule of thumb, comes from. Despite the progress since then, today's experts say only 1 in 10 reports of domestic violence to police nationwide results in any arrest, even though in places like Duluth, mandatory arrest seems to work. But there's no simple answer to the complex problems that trigger violence in the home. Remember Julie, whose boyfriend Brad was arrested after she accused him of hitting her? He goes to trial next month. They're both in counseling, and they're seeing each other again from time to time. I'm Dan Rather. Next Thursday, Charles Kuralt will be your guide for a tour through recent history on the CBS News broadcast, Try to Remember. And I'll be back in 2 weeks with another edition of 48 Hours.
Now at Burger King, Alf Puppets. Get your kids a funny Alf Puppet with its own record for just $2.99 when you buy a Flame Broil Whopper or any large sandwich at Burger King. 4 different puppet and record sets, each just $2.99 with a Whopper or large sandwich. Hurry in and give Alf a hand. You don't have to do it at Burger King. You're cooking with Alf.
Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury owners win again. For the 8th year in a row, owners of Ford Motor Company cars and trucks have reported fewer problems on average than owners of any other cars and trucks designed and built in North America. At Ford, quality is job one.
Chewing great-tasting Trident after sugary snacks helps fight cavities. Now repeat after me. Chocolate a la Trident. Donuts a la Trident. Pie a la Trident. Trident, millions of teeth, can't be wrong.
When people buy telephone service, particularly businessmen when they buy telephone service, they're not buying telephone service, they're buying a business capability. Think about your customers trying to reach you. Think about them trying to place an order and they can't get through because somebody hasn't engineered your access lines right, or somebody hasn't provided you the right kind of support in terms of how you design a telemarketing center. That's real money to you. That's why you buy AT&T services, because AT&T makes a difference to your business. That's the bottom line.
Saturday from Texas, it's SeaWorld's All-Star Lone Star Celebration. Host Patrick Duffy, Marie Osmond, Natalie Cole, and many more entertain you from the world's largest marine life showplace.
Next on 48 Hours. 2 days and 2 nights inside the deadly world of the LA gang. A sad and scary America where the streets belong to the killers, but a few good people dare to make a difference.
We're going to talk about all the other things in this world to do besides being a hoodlum.
48 Hours on Gang Street.
There's no sense of morality. There's no thou shalt not.
2 weeks from tonight.
Stay tuned now as the battle for the NBA championship continues on CBS Sports. The Los Angeles Lakers take on the Detroit Pistons in Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Live from the Silverdome next. For a transcript of 48 Hours, send $3 to Journal Graphics, 267 Broadway, New York, New York, 10007.
Saturday on West 57th, high energy and hot rhythm. Miami Sound Machine on West 57th, Saturday.
This is CBS.
I got a dream that comes from the heart of the heartland. I can make my dream, cause I take my dream right from the heart of the heartland. But I won't rest, gonna reach for the best, got it all here in my hand. Wherever I go, I'm gonna let them know it's coming right from the heart of the heartland.
In the heartland, people know what it means to reach for a dream. That's where Old Style is brewed. Brewed with a dream. Not to be the biggest beer in America, just the best.
I got a dream, comes from the heart of the heartland, right from the heart of the heartland.
Reach for the best. Old Style beer.
WKRP in Cincinnati, weeknights at 11:30.
Good evening. I'm Nancy Chandler with a TV6 News Break. The drought in the Midwest prompts the president to take action. He's forming a committee to find ways for the federal government to help farmers. Geraldine Ferraro makes a tearful plea in a courtroom today, vowing to appeal a 4-month jail term of her son for a cocaine conviction. Gays and lesbians in Wisconsin are upset with presidential candidate Jesse Jackson. They say he's not living up to campaign promises he made to them. Details in tonight's news. Now this.
The new Mexi Melt. Cheese, beef, and pico sauce melted together. Go for it.
Taco Bell has a roll.